Good morning, church. So my name is Steve Inc. I'm a board member of Campbell Christian School, and I'm actually, as of the active members of the board right now, I'm the longest serving member of the board. And I actually came here, started with the board before Shawn Stuart began his work with Campbell Christian Schools. And I've been asked to read a letter that Shawn wants to share with the church. I'm writing to share some important news. After fulfilling 25 years serving this exceptional ministry, I feel the end of this school year is the right time for me to pass the baton to a new era of leadership and start the next chapter in my life. Words cannot express what CCS has meant to me, my family, and my children over the years. Together, we accomplished incredible things, fostering Christian growth and love in the hearts and minds of Silicon Valley children. I am incredibly proud of our staff's dedication, which has positioned CCS as a leading Christian school in the area, admired for its educational leadership and commitment to student success. Our students' test scores, athletic accomplishments, artistic splendor, and thriving community are second to none, and I could not be prouder of what has been accomplished. Despite fire, floods, power outages, and pandemics, CCS students continue to excel, and surprisingly, the gap between us and others only grows. Leaving this position doesn't mean goodbye. The connections and community we've built are unwavering. I will continue to serve CCS in a consultative role, collaborating with the school board, administrators, and the future leader to ensure our continued success. As a parent with children still involved in the school, my commitment and passion for CCS remain unwavering. My experience and insights will always be available to the school that has meant so much to me, my family, and countless others. The board has formed a search committee and composed of administrators, office staff, teachers, parents, board members, elders, and ministers to identify the next leader who will continue to guide our great school forward. Details regarding the search process and timeline will be communicated separately. The collaborative approach we are pursuing reflects the mutual respect and cooperation that define the relationship between myself, the board, and all the administrators. We all love the school, love our staff, love our students, and love each other. Our shared love for the school, the staff, and the student fuels our commitment to ensuring a smooth transition and continued growth in the face of change. I hope you will join me in supporting this process and our community as we move into this exciting new chapter. Sincerely, Dr. Shawn Stuart. I just want to thank Shawn for his 25 years of commitment and excellence to this school, the way that it has grown, it has matured, it has become strong through some challenging times. And I'm just so appreciative for what Shawn has done. Now I'm going to bring up... Thank you. We're not quite done yet. I want to bring up a past board member who served longer than I did and was chairman for many years and spent a lot of time interacting closely with Shawn. So this is Nick Behrens.
Yeah, you better give me my credit. He's only the longest serving member because I retired last May, so. Romans 13:7 says that we should give honor to those to whom honor is due. So I'm here to speak in praise of Shawn Stuart. But in order to really appreciate what Shawn has done, how he's executed his stewardship of CCS, we need to get a little context in the form of a brief history lesson. I was on the board 37 years ago when a special meeting was called. I knew what that meeting was about. School was not doing well. Teachers were fighting with administration, our enrollment was down, and to say that the financial situation was bleak, it was worse than that. So we were there in that meeting to talk about closing the school. And it was a tense meeting. I can't tell you how close we came to closing it at that time. There were people who felt that that was really the right thing to do. But in the end, we made the decision to go one more year and bring in new leadership. So we hired a man named Carter Lambert. And the truth is, Carter saved the school. He came in and he rebuilt the staff, he rebuilt the culture of the school, and he set a number of best practices that are still in operation today. But I'm not here to speak about Carter, I'm here to speak in praise of Shawn. Carter left 10 years after he started, and the school was in a much better place. But he got poached by a much larger school that could pay much more in Houston. You know those Texans, I mean, come on. And we were stuck in a tough place because he left at the end of the school year, and it was just 2.5 months before it would start again. So we asked one of our board members to put his new law practice on sabbatical and come and be the superintendent for a year. And miraculously, Steve Inc. agreed to do that. And that was a phenomenal sacrifice on his part. But I'm not here to talk about Steve. I'm here to speak in praise of Shawn Stuart. So, the board had time to think about who we really wanted, what we really wanted in a leader. And we decided we need someone like Carter, someone who was young, full of energy, was a hard worker, but most importantly had a passion for Christian education and a vision for what it could become. And we looked all over the country. We found many people with a lot of experience, but we couldn't find the right fit. And it turns out that fit was right under our noses. Shawn was 25 years old. He had just finished his PhD in education, and he was working at the school as the summer director of our summer camp. Now, the truth is, Shawn was not really qualified for the job. He had never run a staff of teachers. He had never tried to hire and recruit and train them. And regarding finances, the word neophyte comes to mind. But Shawn had exactly what we were looking for. He is incredibly bright. He is very diligent and hardworking. He is a bulldog when he has a problem. He does not let it go until he gets it solved. And most importantly, he was committed to God and God's kingdom and building a community of faith in that school. So we hired him. Now, we recognized that he was going to be drinking from a fire hose, and so we, at that time, hired him as a co-director along with Brian Carroll's mom, Diane Carroll, who had been Carter's sort of right-hand woman for several years. But within just a few years, it was clear that Shawn was ready to assume the full-time role of superintendent. Now, I could spend 10 hours talking about the accomplishments that Shawn did. But the elders only gave me an hour, so. I got some of you, I got your attention now, don't I? Nobody's perfect, and Shawn's not perfect. You don't take on the burden of responsibility for 25 years and the burden of authority that comes with it and the decisions that you have to make without upsetting people. But it's also true that a tree is known by its fruit. And when you look at the fruit of Shawn's ministry, there's no doubt about the quality of his stewardship. I want to give you what I consider 3 of the greatest things Shawn did. I told you that at one point the school's financial situation was very, very bleak. Well, by the time Shawn came in, we were more stable, but we still couldn't be the kind of school we wanted to be. And so the first challenge we presented Shawn with was help us get to a financially stable situation. And he didn't do it overnight, but each year he worked on a set of financial metrics and improved them every single year. He restructured our tuition and fee strategy completely. He greatly improved our compensation plan for the teachers and the staff. It included benefits that we hadn't given them before, including long-term retirement. And he built on the set of best practices that Carter had. The result was a radical change for the school. I can tell you today, the school is in the best financial shape it's ever been. I personally consider it one of our strongest assets. When we first started the school paid nothing to the church for the use of the facilities because it was a ministry of the church. Today, Campbell Christian contributes literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to our budget. And as a former elder, I can tell you with absolute certainty, we could not have the staff we have or the ministries that we have without the work that Shawn did. But that led right into what I think is the next most significant thing he did. When Campbell Christian was founded, it was built on a vision of a K through 8 program, a middle school program. But within 3 years, the board had to shut the middle school down because it was just too expensive. We always had the hope that someday we would be able to reestablish that. So once we got on sound financial footing, Shawn came forward with a plan to build a middle school. But the problem was we couldn't house it here. And we didn't want it to be somewhere else because we tried that initially and it just didn't work. So Shawn said, we need to build a building. Now, when he first said that to me, I said, are you on drugs? There's no way the church can afford to build a building. He said, Nick, we can do it. The school can do it. And he presented a plan to do that. But that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was dealing with the swamp of politics from the city of Campbell. It was, you guys, you can't imagine how difficult that was. Shawn never lost his cool. He stayed patient and he worked those issues. And today we have a building that almost doubled the size of our facility. And a middle school program that has exceeded all expectations. And for that, we have Shawn to thank, because he really drove that vision. And I have to confess something to you. I was the chairman of the board for 23 of Shawn's 25 years. And when we got through establishing the middle school and building that building, I kind of sat back and said, wow, we've arrived. It is smooth sailing from here. I was feeling really cocky. God does not like cocky. So what does he bring but this little thing called the COVID pandemic? You remember what we went through. For most of us, having to work from our home was a blessing, right? We didn't want to go back. But try teaching kids when they're isolated at home. All of us can understand intuitively the importance of social interaction. But our kids couldn't have that during the lockdown. And then on top of that, you had teachers who had no idea how to teach remotely, and they had to learn that. And on top of that, you had an administration that had to prepare parents to get engaged with their kids because they had no choice. They had to. And every single day, a new problem would arise during this period. And every single day, Shawn would look at it and patiently work through it. I think of all three of the major things he accomplished, that's the one that amazed me the most, because during that time, 12 private schools closed, and Campbell survived. We didn't just survive, we thrived. Believe it or not, we actually grew in attendance and in financial strength during the pandemic. It's phenomenal what was accomplished. None of that would have happened without Shawn's leadership. We don't measure things in the kingdom of God the way the world does. There is no self-seeking glory. But I've been a member of this church for 48 years, And I believe I can confidently say that Shawn, with the strong and essential support of his wife, Lori, has been one of the most influential and productive members of this congregation that we have ever had. And we all, every one of us, should give honor where honor is due. Shawn, you have carried an unbelievable load, filled with great joys and some deep hurts, and a ridiculous amount of stress and challenge. You have carried it so well that few will ever understand what you've really achieved or what it cost you to do it. But from the bottom of our hearts, you have our deepest thanks. I don't know what the future holds for you, but I know you will flourish and achieve great things for God's kingdom, for that has ever and always been your North Star. Well done, Shawn. Thank you.